Everybody ready? You guys ready?
Yeah.
Everybody ready? At this time, we'll call the April 18th, 2022 Planning Board meeting to order. At this time, I'll ask everybody to stand and rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, at this time, we'll move into item 2A, approval of the meeting minutes. And the purpose of this agenda item is to consider the approval of the minutes from the February 21st, 2022 Planning Board meeting. Has everybody had a chance to review them? And if so, does anybody have any corrections? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
We have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. There is no item 3. There's no items tabled from previous meetings, so we'll jump right into the public hearings. I'll read a blanket statement for all public hearings. Public hearings are a time for petitioners to present requests and for the public to state their concerns and voice opinions in favor and opposition of these requests. At this time, I would ask our planning director to review the meeting protocol for public participation as it relates to this meeting.
Thank you. Tonight's meeting is both in-person and virtual. Tonight's meeting contains scheduled public hearings. Due to the hybrid nature of the meeting, the public will be invited to comment both in person and virtually via the Zoom virtual meeting platform. When it is the appropriate time, the chair will first call on those wishing to address the planning board that are attending in person, followed by those wishing to address the planning board via the Zoom platform. All attendees that have appeared in person to address the planning board should provide your name and address on the registration log at the podium during the public hearing you intend to speak on. All attendees that have joined the meeting virtually have joined muted. If those joining virtually wish to address the planning board related to a scheduled public hearing, they will need to notify the town host that they wish to speak. For the public's benefit that may be joining the meeting via the Zoom platform, please press the raised hand button in the Zoom app to notify the town host that you wish to address the board. Please press *9 to raise your hand if you're joining by telephone to notify the town host. After an individual has raised their hand, they will enter a queue. When the scheduled public hearing begins, the chair will ask the town host to recognize individuals that have notified the town host they wish to speak by calling out their name or the last 4 digits of their telephone number. Individuals will be unmuted one at a time and invited to address the planning board. We ask all those wishing to address the planning board to begin their comments by clearly stating their name and address for the public record. This concludes the protocol for tonight's meeting.
Thank you. At this time, we'll move into item 4A, zoning map amendment, Jim Bartlett, 453 Longfellow Street, PIN 06577022023 REZ 2022-02. The purpose of this agenda item is to consider a requested zoning map amendment for a total of 0.17 acres located at 453 Longfellow Street from the residential medium density RMD zoning district to the town center TCR zoning district. At this time, further information will be presented by staff.
Thank you. I am submitting the agenda abstract and supporting documents into the official records of the town. The subject property consists of 2 lots, lots 177 and 178 from the original Lincoln Heights subdivision, Book of Maps 1945-79, and totals 0.17 acres. It is located in the town's corporate limits and is currently vacant and wooded. Since these lots are adjacent and under the same ownership, Wake County Tax Department has mapped these lots as 1 lot per policy. These lots were recently readdressed from 413 Longfellow Street to 453 Longfellow Street, effective March 23, 2022. The zoning map amendment petition requests approval of the town center residential zoning district. A residential density of 10 units per acre is permitted within the TCR zoning district, which is intended to provide for residential development of varying types to support the downtown center districts and is applicable only within the Judd Parkway Loop. The TCR zoning district requires a submittal of a master plan. However, proposed developments totaling 4 lots or fewer are permitted to submit a plot plan in lieu of the required master plan. This zoning map amendment requests 2 lots, and as such, a plot plan has been submitted. The petitioner has requested the following site-specific conditions be made applicable to the subject property. Fiber cement siding will be used. Vinyl may only be used on windows, decorative elements, and trim. 1 ornamental tree will be planted in the front yard, crepe myrtle or similar, and front doors will include partial glass and transom. The surrounding property is primarily residential of a variety of densities making up the neighborhoods that begin the transition into downtown. The 2035 Community Vision Land Use Plan calls for the town center residential classification at the subject property. The Land Use Plan's recommendation of LU4, encourage infill development and redevelopment inside town limits, incentivizes infill development and redevelopment projects inside town limits as a way to reinvest in the existing downtowns and neighborhoods. Furthermore, the Land Use Plan's recommendation H2, grow in downtowns, and H3, don't lose affordability, incentivizes creating and maintaining affordable housing in the downtown areas. The requesting zoning district is consistent with the 2035 Land Use Plan classification. Public and water are available to serve the subject property. The subject property is located on and has access to Longfellow Street. Longfellow Street is classified as a local street in the town's community transportation plan. Longfellow Street is a town-maintained road, and therefore NCDOT traffic counts are not available. A neighborhood meeting was held by the petitioner on February 21st, 2022, via the Zoom web application. The meeting report is attached, and staff takes no position as to its content. Staff recommends approval of the proposed zoning map amendment as it is reasonable and in the best interest of the public for the following reasons. The requested zoning map amendment is consistent with the 2035 Community Vision Land Use Plan for the designation of town center residential. The requested zoning district supports infill development and reinvestment in downtown neighborhoods per the 2035 Land Use Plan's recommendation LU4, encourage infill development and redevelopment inside town limits. The requested zoning district supports the goals of creating a variety of housing inventory approaching the existing downtown neighborhoods per the 2035 Land Use Plan's recommendation H2, grow in downtowns. The requested zoning district is complementary to residential uses in the general vicinity, and the requested zoning district is consistent with the proposed updated 2040 land use plan that is currently under review by staff and management. I am available to answer any questions.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for staff before we open the public hearing? Okay. At this time, we'll open the public hearing. I'll ask anybody that wishes to speak in favor of this rezoning map amendment, please come forward. Scott, you got anybody online?
Yes, sir. We have one hand raised. Virginia Bertram, please unmute your mic.
I'm sorry, I wanted to speak about something later in the meeting. I'll put my hand back down until then.
Okie dokie.
Okay.
Then no.
All right. I'd like to ask anybody who would like to speak in opposition to the zoning map and come up. Scott, got anybody hand raised on this one?
No, sir.
All right. This time we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the board. Pam, I do have one question. Could you give us what's the max density in TRC or TCR?
10 dwelling units per acre.
So just want to make sure we don't wind up approving something that we can't, but 2 townhomes is 2 units over 0.17 is more than 10 units an acre. Is there something that allows us to approve that?
Yes, in the TCR zoning district, because these were existing lots, they are already mapped as 2, so they are permitted to put 1 unit on each lot.
Right, got it, okay. Just want to make sure we didn't get ourselves in a...
If this wasn't already 2 lots, then it would be an issue, but because it was already 2 lots and they were never legally recombined.
Got it. Anybody else have any questions for staff? If not, I will look to the board for a motion.
I move we recommend approval of REZ 2022-02, a zoning map amendment to 453 Longfellow Street from residential, medium density RMD zoning district to the town center residential TCR zoning district. This proposed amendment is consistent with the 2035 Community Vision Land Use Plan and reasonable and in the best interest of the public for the reasons identified by staff.
I have a motion of a second.
Second.
No, you have okay.
You have a question?
No.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Good to go. We'll move on to item 4B, and at this time, I'll have to ask for a motion to recuse myself and have Jay assume the chair of item 4B.
So moved.
I have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Jay, you now have the controls.
All right, going to item 4B, zoning plan amendment to Curry Engineering Group, PLLC, 1601 North Main Street. PIN number 0677025023, REZ 2020-03. The purpose of this agenda item is to consider a requested zoning map amendment for a total of 1.44 acres. I am on right here. 1.44 acres located at 1601 North Main Street from the Corridor Commercial Conditional Zoning District to the Corridor Commercial Conditional
Zoning.
Zone District. Now we'll have comments from the staff.
Thank you. I'm submitting the agenda abstract and supporting documents into the official records of the town. The property totals 1.44 acres and is currently in the town's corporate limits. The property is vacant and generally cleared with some trees and brush. The property is currently zoned Corridor Commercial Conditional Zoning District. The zoning map amendment petition requests approval of the Corridor Commercial Conditional Zoning District. This zoning district is intended to accommodate medium-scale intensity non-residential development of a mix of convenience, services, retail, office, and limited institutional uses. This property was rezoned as part of REZ 2021-05. This rezoning petition is to update the site-specific conditions to allow for additional allowable uses and provide additional protection to the adjacent residential use through the restriction of roll-up service doors to all facades facing the residential property. The previously approved zoning conditions listed automotive express service as the only permitted use, provided a 30-foot Type A evergreen buffer adjacent to 1403 Wilbur Jones Road, and prohibited roll-up service doors on only the western facade of the proposed building. The petitioner is requesting only the following uses be permitted at the subject property: tire sales and service, vehicle parts and accessories retail, automotive express service, and automotive repair. The petitioner is requesting the following site-specific conditions to the subject property: provide a minimum 30-foot Type A perimeter buffer adjacent to 1403 Wilbur Jones Road, comprised entirely of evergreen plant materials. This buffer will revert to standard buffer width and planting standards in the event that 1403 Wilbur Jones Road ceases to be a residential use. And 2, roll-up service doors for the garage will be prohibited on the building facades facing 1403 Wilbur Jones Road. Surrounding properties are generally a mix of commercial and residential uses with some forested area. The Brennan Way subdivision lies to the north across the Norfolk Southern Railroad, and a single-family home is immediately adjacent to the northwestern property line. To the east, southwest, and west of the property are commercial uses ranging from automotive-related businesses, restaurants, and personal care uses. Directly east of the property is the recently completed UNC Healthcare Flagship Medical Building. The 2035 Community Vision Land Use Plan calls for the small-scale commercial center classification of the subject property. This classification is defined as land supporting small-scale commercial centers that provide goods and services to surrounding neighborhoods. Their proximity to neighborhoods requires that operations be low intensity, unobtrusive, and at a scale and design compatible with nearby residential development. The requested zoning map amendment is consistent with the 2035 Community Vision Land Use Plan. The town is currently updating its 2035 Land Use Plan, and the proposed updated 2040 Land Use Plan update recommends designating the property as suburban commercial, which aligns with the current 2035 Land Use Plan designation of small-scale commercial center classification. Public water and sewer are available to serve the subject property. The subject property is located at the corner of North Main Street, US Highway 401, and Wilbur Jones Road. North Main Street is classified by the town's 2035 Community Transportation Plan as a 120-foot right-of-way and identified as a 4-lane, medium-divided cross-section with side paths and a future carrying capacity of 36,600 average daily trips. It is currently a 4-lane road with a center turn lane with a carrying capacity of 27,600 average daily trips. 2019 NCDOT traffic counts taken approximately 200 feet to the east of the property on North Main Street indicated a volume of 32,500 average daily trips. Wilbur Jones Road is classified by the town's 2035 Community Transportation Plan as a 70-foot right-of-way and is identified as a 2-lane cross-section with sidewalks and a future carrying capacity of 9,500 average daily trips. It is currently a 2-lane road with a carrying capacity of 9,200 average daily trips. 2019 NCDOT traffic counts taken approximately 0.6 miles to the east of the property on Johnson Pond Road, which Wilbur Jones Road eventually becomes, indicated a volume of 3,500 average daily trips. The petitioner held a neighborhood meeting on March 15, 2022 at Curry Engineering, 205 South Fuquay Avenue, Fuquay-Varina. The meeting report is attached, and the staff takes no position to its content. Staff recommends approval of the proposed zoning map amendment as it is consistent with the 2035 Community Vision Land Use Plan and reasonable and in the best interest of the public for the following reasons. The requested zoning map amendment is consistent with the 2035 Community Vision Land Use Plan's recommendation CF1, invest in existing growth areas, which encourages the extension of utilities and growth of development in areas that are already in the growth process to maximize effectiveness. The requested zoning map amendment is consistent with the proposed updated 2040 Community Vision Land Use Plan recommendation to designate the property as suburban commercial, as this land use designation aligns with the 2035 Land Use Plan small-scale commercial center classification. And conditions proposed by the petitioner effectively limit future development to be compatible with the surrounding areas. I am available for any questions.
Thank you, Pam. Any questions from the board? If not, we'll open up the public hearing, and all wish to speak in favor. If you would, please state your name and address when you come to the podium.
Hello, I'm Eric with Curry Engineering. I want to thank you for your time and consideration regarding the rezoning of this property. Staff presented the rezoning case very well. I don't have anything additional to add. I'm here for any questions that you may have regarding the rezoning petition.
Thank you. Any more wish to speak in favor? Any hands raised online, Scott?
No, sir.
All right. Any opposed?
None online?
Any online?
No, sir.
All right. Do I hear a motion?
Close public hearing.
All right. Sorry about that. We'll close the hearing now, and I'll be waiting to hear a motion entertained.
I'll make a motion to recommend approval of REZ 2022-03 as presented by staff.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. You can have it back, Andy.
Thank you. All right. We will move into item 4C. This is the 2040 Community Vision Land Use Plan, and as for this item 4A, or 4C and 4D, I'm going to read both the statements, but I'll read them twice. As consideration of this agenda item is recommended to be tabled, the public will have an opportunity to express support and/or opposition of CTA-2022-03 during the continued public hearing on May 16th. Any staff recommended modifications or revisions to the amendment will also be presented at that meeting. Additional comments, questions, or concerns may be directed to the Planning Department staff. At this time, I'll read out so that anybody online or anybody else knows who to direct the questions to or where to direct the questions to. If you wish to call planning, the number is 919-552-1429. Or if you wish to email any comments that you have between now and May 16th, you can email them at planning@fuquay-varina.org. All right, moving forward. The purpose of this agenda item is to consider a proposed amendment to the 2035 Community Vision Land Use Plan that addresses several areas for improvement, and further information provided by staff.
Thank you, Chair, members of the board. I'm submitting the agenda, abstract, and supporting documentation into the record. The 2035 Community Vision Land Use Plan, adopted in 2017, is the current ordinance for future growth and development in Fuquay-Varina. It is meant to establish a long-term vision for the community that extends over a planning horizon of 20 years. The land use plan is a living document meant to be revisited and amended as necessary as the community moves forward in growth. The land use plan provides guidance to the town in decisions for rezonings, describing the desired future land uses for all property within the town's planning area. The current land use plan and future land use map does not change the existing zoning or subdivision entitlements of a property. The updated 2040 Community Vision Land Use Plan proposed in this amendment builds upon the vision, guiding principles, and recommendations of the current plan and provides more focus and clarity regarding the community's expectation for the character, quality, and mix of development in the town's planning jurisdiction. There are a number of key plan updates that we'll go through with this introduction. Chapter 1, there has been an update to the background information for the plan, including demographic data that's been updated to reflect current conditions as opposed to the 2017 standard. We've also have a high-level market forecast that's been provided. In Chapter 2, the growth framework is a considerable portion of the plan. The growth framework is based on the expected character of different areas throughout town, instead of focusing on use and intensity only. The following guiding principles expand on the community's vision for its future and include the following: land use, transportation, community facilities and services, home choices, natural environment, parks and recreation, economic vitality, community design, performance, and communication. As noted, the guiding principles have been maintained, so there's a number of slides just to refresh everyone's memory regarding what those principles were defined as. Moving into Chapter 3, the character typology, we get to the heart of the document. Character area typologies provide greater detail on how different areas of the community should be developed in terms of their look, feel, and functionality. Illustrations and example site layouts are included to further explain the expectations for development. Character areas include descriptions of the following elements and their relevant characteristics: street and block patterns, which is how developments are connected internally to each other with streets, sidewalks, and greenways; open spaces and natural resources, which are the types and locations of open spaces appropriate for each character area and how they relate to the built environment; lot size and building placement, which includes building orientation and placement in relation to streets, property lines, and other buildings; building types and massing, which identifies the general scale of buildings as well as the types of building forms that are appropriate in each area; transportation considerations identifies where multimodal transportation options are most critical and how properties should connect or expand to the road network, as well as public realm elements such as seating and bike racks. Moving into the individual character areas, these categories correspond to elements from the previous 2035 land use plan. Some areas have been combined, consolidated, or modified. All of the areas have been described in greater detail as follows. Open space remains termed open space. Rural residential is still termed rural residential. Large lot residential and small lot residential are now both single-family neighborhood. Mixed density residential is now mixed residential neighborhood. Townhome community and multifamily residential are now both multifamily neighborhood. Small-scale commercial center is now neighborhood commercial. Highway commercial and regional commercial center are now both suburban commercial. Suburban office remains suburban office. Light industrial and heavy industrial are now both just industrial. Civic and institutional is still remains civic and institutional. Town center residential is still town center residential. Mixed-use neighborhood is now neighborhood activity center. Commercial village is now community activity center. Employment village is now regional employment center. And downtown remains downtown. Key changes to the character area typologies are as follows. In the single-family neighborhood, new developments will need to provide an integrated mix of lot sizes. There's a de-emphasis of garages through alley-loaded products and larger garage setbacks for front-facing garages. In the multifamily neighborhood, small-scale developments only. This would be larger townhome and apartment developments would be integrated into other development character areas such as mixed residential neighborhood. The mixed residential neighborhood de-emphasizes garages through alley-loaded products and larger garage setbacks for front-facing garages. Town Center neighborhood expands to limited locations outside of the Judd Parkway Loop, where this traditional neighborhood design is also appropriate. The neighborhood commercial district encourages low-impact development practices such as sustainable stormwater designs. In suburban commercial, new developments will need to create a center corridor, such as a main street, park, square, or plaza. In suburban office, common greens and other public spaces will need to be incorporated into site designs. Moving into some of our areas that have greater amounts of change, the Neighborhood Activity Center is our first mixed-use district that corresponds to one of our form-based zoning. In it, residential uses are secondary to commercial and common green spaces. New developments will need to create a center or corridor, such as a main street, park, or plaza. Non-residential uses should be between 5,000 to 100,000 square feet in building area and cover approximately 5 to 15 acres in size. Pedestrian-oriented design with buildings close to the street where applicable. Our next mixed-use center is our Community Activity Center. In this character area, residential uses are also secondary to commercial and common green spaces. The center corridor, such as a main street, park, square, or plaza, is also found. Non-residential uses should be between 100,000 to 250,000 square feet in building area over approximately 15 to 45 acres. And again, buildings should be constructed with a pedestrian-oriented design towards internal streets. Our final mixed-use area is the Regional Employment Center. In it, residential uses are secondary to non-residential uses in common green spaces. You'll have the center corridor, such as a main street, park, square, or plaza, once again. Non-residential uses, however, at the core are employment-based uses, such as office or retail. Anchors could include corporate headquarters, higher education facilities, hotels, medical research facilities, or advanced manufacturing uses, accommodating building area of 500,000 square feet or more, and also covering at least 45 acres in area. And again, buildings should be constructed with a pedestrian-oriented design to the internal streets. The future land use map has several overarching concepts throughout. First, balancing the ratio of residential to non-residential land uses. The town is seeking to increase the percentage of non-residential uses with a target of a 60-40 balance to residential to non-residential uses throughout the planning area. New opportunities for access to non-residential uses will need to be provided in growing areas along major transportation corridors and where residents of adjacent jurisdictions can shop and work without having to traverse through the town, helping to reduce traffic, create job opportunities, and provide amenities that support the quality of life expected by the community. Another overarching element is providing quality housing choices. The plan seeks to create character areas with a wide range of housing options for all generations and locate the different character areas to utilize the town's existing infrastructure investments, to include the recently completed Judd Parkway. The placement of various character areas also seeks to take advantage of existing features, such as environmental features and rural vistas, while enhancing and filling in the gaps in between existing neighborhoods. The character areas balance the town's housing portfolio and also create areas that support multi-generational neighborhoods where residents can find homes that suit their lifestyles and life stages over time without having to leave the neighborhood. This variation within a neighborhood, whether through lot sizes or housing types, also supports the different needs of multiple generations of one family living in the same neighborhood. In addition, there's strengthening the expectations for activity centers that integrate the non-residential uses that provide goods, services, and jobs in close proximity to housing, which creates more options for residents to access these amenities with less time and money spent on vehicle travel for necessities. Another key concept throughout the plan are the site plan concepts. These illustrations show key components and desired arrangements of buildings, streets, and open spaces in the single-family neighborhood, mixed residential neighborhood, neighborhood activity center, community activity center, and regional employment center character areas. The next enhancement to the plan that you see on your screen are the character areas typology crosswalk. This indicates appropriate zoning districts to implement each character area. This tool is to be used in rezoning decisions. You can see across the top of the crosswalk are all of the character areas depicted in the plan. Along the left-hand side of the screen are all of our zoning districts, and the intersection of the two are where the dots are shown. That would show potentially appropriate districts if a property was to be rezoned. The next enhancement is the building typology crosswalk. The building typology crosswalk identifies and illustrates types of buildings, such as single-family detached home, duplex, neighborhood commercial, that are appropriate within each character area. There's one crosswalk for residential building types as well as another for non-residential, as shown. The Chapter 4 includes a new map that we've not had in the previous plan. The supporting infrastructure document also specifically has the priority investment areas map and policies. This prioritizes areas of future town infrastructure investments to promote strategic investments by the town through enhanced economies of scale and a focus on supporting economic development goals. Developments can occur throughout all areas of the town's municipal and extraterritorial jurisdiction at any time. However, the town's contribution to extending and improving infrastructure will be focused in higher priority investment tiers. Moving on to Chapter 5 of the document, Townwide Initiatives. There are a few items to highlight, including development compatibility and site transitions, which is a focus on site design that creates effective transitions between different uses, creating connections while minimizing the impacts of more intense uses on nearby less intense uses through building relationships and site design features. In addition, there's a focus on comprehensive, connected, and continuous open space. This is a focus on a comprehensive approach to open space through both preservation and development, with open space forms curated to support the sense of place that is created in each character area. This document has been available for public comment. A draft of the plan was the plan and list of character area typologies were posted on the town's outreach platform, Let's Talk FV, on April 1st, and it will remain available for public viewing and feedback until May 2nd, 2022, which can be extended. Concurrently, information was posted on the town's social media sites and website, making information available to the public. Several members of the public have provided written comments regarding the draft plan, and these comments have been included in the attachment for the board's consideration. As the draft plan is still under public comment, minor changes may be made to the document to address public concerns or to correct errors and discrepancies in the document. And with that, I can take any questions the board may have.
All right. Well, I think overall, this is just looking at it from what we've seen, it's much easier to navigate and understand. So I think everybody appreciates that and all the hard work you guys did to get us there. And it's really nice to see the LUP and the LDO start to kind of talk to each other a little bit more. But at this time, the board have any broad comments or questions for staff? Keep in mind, we're going to try to continue this if the board so chooses to May 16th for us to really dive down into it and get into the details and the nitty gritty and give staff any comments. But just in that time that Melissa gave us, anybody have any kind of questions or concerns or comments?
I have a quick question. So I noticed on the PowerPoint and going through the documents, some of the land uses identify dimensions or amounts of buildings in certain uses, but some uses don't have anything stated, and there's some kind of subjective words with large or small. So why, I guess it's two questions. Why do some uses have standards, some don't? And then what is to constitute between large and small?
Sure. I think what you're seeing throughout the document is that some of the character areas have very a mix of uses that may be best defined by providing some more specific parameters. Because the document as a whole is a vision document, there are some elements that are more subjective in nature. I think what you'll see as was mentioned, the talking between the LUP and the LDO. The LDO is where those general statements and visionary ideas are implemented. So that will further refine and create specific standards that would be effective with a zoning district.
Anybody else have anything for staff before I open the public hearing? All right, well, at this time, I'll open the public hearing, and then before we do any opposition or support, I guess I'm open to hearing a motion to continue this to the May 16th, 2022 Planning Board meeting, if somebody so feels inclined to do so.
So moved.
All right, we got two. And a second. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, we'll see that one back in May. We'll move on to item 4D, and I'm gonna read this same statement again here in just a second. This is a land development ordinance amendment, the 2040 Community Vision Land Use Plan. This is CTA 2022-04 Amendment, item 19. Again, similar to item 4C, as consideration of this agenda item is recommended to be tabled, the public will have an opportunity to express support and/or opposition of CTA 2022-04 during the continued public hearing on May 16th. Any staff recommended modifications or revisions to the amendment will also be presented at that meeting. Additional comments, questions, or concerns may be directed to the planning department staff. And again, I'll read that number out and email just in case anybody online needs it. The phone number is 919-552-1429. And the email is planning@fuquay-varina.org. And at this time, more information will be presented by staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, Board. I am submitting the agenda abstract and the supporting documents into the official record of the town. Town staff and the community have gained significant experience using the land development ordinance since its adoption in December of 2016 and a better understanding of its intent and proper function. As a result, this amendment seeks to harness that experience in the form of clarifications and technical corrections to the LDO's language. In addition, this amendment seeks to update the land development ordinance to bring it into conformity with recommendations made by the newly updated 2040 Community Vision Land Use Plan. The proposed changes are as follows. Section 1, Article A, language has been added to this article to allow for flexibility regarding town-owned buildings and properties. In the event the town cannot strictly adhere to the guidance of the land development ordinance, exceptions may be made to the standards and requirements. Section 2, Article C, an update to terminology, neighborhood mixed-use NMU and urban mixed-use UMU to commercial mixed-use CMU and employment mixed-use EMU. The land use plan establishes new titles for 2 of the 3 form-based districts to better describe their development effects. Section 3, Article D, the zoning district descriptions have been updated for the residential agricultural, residential low density, residential mixed density, residential high density, commercial corridor, general commercial, research light industrial, and heavy industrial zoning districts to align them with changes proposed in the LUP. The highway corridor overlay zoning district HCO has been established to secure the main thoroughfares in town for the most appropriate commercial and non-residential uses. Section 4, Article E, again, the zoning districts have been updated for town center residential, TCR, RMU, NMU, and UMU to align them with changes in the LUP. Section 5, Article F, an update to terminology for zoning districts NMU and UMU to CMU and EMU. The permitted use table has been updated to address the amendments to the development project section and the form-based RMU, NMU, UMU sections, and that's shown as attachment A in your packet. The development type mixed-use development has been removed as a development option. Staff finds the variety of other mixed-use development options offered in the LDO. Mixed-use development as outlined in Article F does not produce the best or most creative mixed-use development opportunities. In the multifamily section, the apartment development type has been amended to include a purpose and intent section, as well as a more thorough open space requirement. Townhouse development has been moved from the single-family development type section to the multifamily development type section. This brings the development type in line with the updates of the LUP. Previously, townhouse development was its own section, but it is now a part of Section 2, multifamily. Updates to the open space development table include table-density and lot size for open space developments has been amended to better respond to the level of open space dedication desired by the town per the new LUP that's shown as attachment B in your packet. Expansion of the lot size configuration for open space developments to encourage a greater diversity of lot sizes and better transitions from neighboring subdivisions that's shown as attachment C. Setbacks have been amended to encourage more lot configuration creativity that's attachment D. The RHD zoning district has been removed from the open space development tables, as new development in the RHD zoning district will no longer qualify as open space. The word collector has been removed from a section regarding street tree placement and open space development, as its usage was incorrect. Rear alley usage has been expanded within open space developments. What was traditionally referred to as detached townhomes will now be referred to as row houses, to be consistent with other sections of the LDO, and has been added to the development as a development option under open space development. Section 6, Article G. Updates have been made to the dimensions and setback table to align it with updates from the LDO. That's attachment E. The minimum lot sizes for residential zoning districts have been increased to align with the recommendations from the LUP update, and an update to terminology NMU and UMU to CMU and EMU. Section 7, Article H, a reference to the traditional mixed-use development has been removed as it is no longer a development option. Section 8, Article J, an update has been made to increase the lot size at which a maximum of 50% environmental feature requirement is applicable. An update to terminology NMU and UMU to CMU and EMU. Row house has been added to the list of development types for which the recreation fee in lieu is applicable. The number for calculation of recreation dedication or fee in lieu has been amended to 1/20th of an acre from 1/30th of an acre. The reference for the fee has also been updated. Additionally, the timing for permit choice has been expanded. Row house has been added to an exemption in the mail kiosk section. Subdivisions under 30 lots may be exempted from this parking requirement. Language has been added to the construction guarantees section that provides an opportunity for non-residential site plans to provide a fee in lieu, as major subdivisions currently do. Additionally, language has been amended to shift town board approval of the request to the construction drawing stage from the preliminary plan stage to better align with the engineering of the development. Section 9, Article L, an update to terminology NMU and UMU to CMU and EMU. Section 10, Article M, an update to terminology NMU and UMU to CMU and EMU. A reference to the traditional mixed-use development has been removed as it is no longer a development option, and removal of the year on a reference to the 2035 Community Vision Land Use Plan just now reads Community Vision Land Use Plan. Section 11, Article N, an update to the terminology NMU and UMU to CMU and EMU. Language has been added to provide guidance for residential off-street parking and garages. Section 12, Article O, a reference to plantings required for mixed-use developments has been removed, as traditional mixed-use development is no longer a development option. A reference to foundation plantings on single-family homes has been removed. An update to terminology for NMU and UMU to CMU and EMU. Updates to the perimeter buffer requirements for form-based mixed-use developments have been made to clarify that the perimeter buffers are required at the project boundary. Updates have been made to clarify that no lots within a subdivision shall contain any required buffer or open space. The use types list has been updated to include the updated form-based districts and to rearrange the intensities of some single-family and multifamily uses. Language has been added to the street tree buffer section that states street tree buffers may be included on lots, and that street trees must be continued across non-residential and open space lots. Section 13, Article P, updates to terminology NMU and UMU to CMU and EMU. A reference to the traditional mixed-use development has been removed as it is no longer a development option, and a reference to the bicycle master plan has been removed. The town had applied for funding around completion of the 2017 LDO, but funding was not awarded. Section 14, Article Q, updates to terminology NMU and UMU to CMU and EMU. A reference to the traditional mixed-use development has been removed as it is no longer a development option. The exemption for townhouses has been removed from site plan components, as townhouses are now considered multifamily. A requirement for a neighborhood meeting has been added to special use permits. Clarification has been added to townhouse development section that the preliminary and construction drawings shall be submitted in accordance with the major plat standards. Section 15, Article S, updates to terminology NMU and UMU to CMU and EMU. All outmoded definitions related to the newly updated Appendix B have been removed or altered to fit new language. References to the traditional mixed-use development have been removed as it is no longer a development option. The multifamily definition has been clarified to include townhouses. The definition for non-residential development has been clarified. The subdivision and subdivision minor definitions have been edited to exclude specifics that are already outlined in the respective articles to avoid redundancy. The townhouse and townhouse development definitions have been clarified for their new applications. Section 16, Appendix B. This section has been entirely rewritten in response to the recommendations from the 2040 Community Vision Land Use Plan, now called residential mixed use, commercial mixed use, and employment mixed use. The three mixed use form-based districts now conform to the updated LUP, and the appendix is much more user-friendly. These three form-based districts now respond to the LUP's newly established Neighborhood Activity Center, Community Activity Center, and Regional Employment Center classifications. Together, the LUP and LEO provide framework for vibrant, creative, mixed-use developments, as well as centers of commerce and lifestyle. And that is included as Attachment F. Section 17, Appendix C. Language has been added to this appendix to state that TCR zoning district is also applicable to the area immediately surrounding Judd Parkway Loop. Section 18, Appendix D. The PUD section has been revamped to become a more flexible and applicable zoning district. Standards have been outlined that were once not, allowing for greater ease of use. PUD project sizes have been expanded, and delineation of residential versus non-residential project area has been expanded as well. And table PUD zoning districts, building setback and separation has been revamped to have greater building type flexibility. That's attached as Attachment G. Standards have been added to the open space section to align with other open space development and encourage a higher quality open space product. Staff is requesting tabling of this item to the May 16, 2022 Planning Board meeting in order to provide us more time to reflect on comments and goals for the land development ordinance. And I am happy to take any questions.
All right. I bet you're going to dream of RMU, CMU, and EMU, aren't you? I have
I
a lot
was
of MUs.
Stopped pronouncing them after.
Does anybody have any questions for Alyssa or staff on this one? There's a lot going on this one, so I think it's good for us to take some time and review that. I mean, she went through it pretty quick, but there's a lot of changes in there. So
Yeah, one thing I will say, both with the, the previous plan and these amendments, is that we're moving towards simplification. We had some rather complex things, and it's good to see, especially around form-based, to see it more simplified so that hopefully we can engage more developers to use it, because they don't have to pull out their abacus to figure out how to put together a form-based development. So that's an area I think that's just really greatly improved, as well as some of the collapsing of we still need more collapsing to do, honestly, but we are making progress on that in terms of collapsing all of the options. These crosswalks are still rather lengthy and large. It'd be nice to see them simplified if possible, but not too simple, but more simple. So, and I think there's been some progress there. So thank you.
Sure. How does, at some point, the LDO amendment's going to get passed. How does that impact? There's a lot of projects in the queue right now that the town's currently reviewing. What's the implications to those projects? So if you have something that's in review now and then the LDO passes, how does that play into things?
You want to say?
So, kind of twofold. So if they are submitted, a submitted site plan or submitted subdivision plan currently under review, will have permit choice to continue moving forward with the current standards as they. In many cases, they may also, through that permit choice option, choose the new version, because in some cases those are preferable. And some projects are actually waiting for this to be approved. for that very reason. As far as rezonings, because that is a legislative approval process, that is less affected by the permit choice option.
Right, so it's kind of grandfathered in if you want it, almost, to a certain extent. All right, any more questions or comments for staff?
A question on the, I guess, both items. So public comment started April 1st, runs through May 2nd, and both public hearings have been held open until May 16th?
Currently, the
So
first one has been.
That May 2nd was originally going to be the town board approval, so that will probably be, we will hold that open on Let's Talk FV. We'll probably push to the June 6th town board meeting.
Thanks.
And we will then add, there are kind of some deadlines in there, so whatever comments we've gotten prior to the planning board meeting on May 16th, we'll make sure are incorporated, and then any further ones will then be put into the town board.
Thank you.
And has there been a lot of public comments?
There's been a lot of public viewing, and there have been a handful of public comments, so we are getting some good feedback.
All right, with that, I'm going to open up the public hearing and then kind of skip this whole support and opposition and see if anybody's willing to make a motion to continue this to the May 16th planning board meeting.
I make a motion to continue the public hearing and table consideration of CTA 2022-04, an amendment to the land development ordinance to May 16, 2022. Planning board meeting is recommended by town staff.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. All right, we are done with public hearings. So we will move on to agenda item 6A, planning staff report. The purpose of this agenda item is to receive information on the disposition of the planning board's recommendations to the town board of commissioners since the February 21st, 2022 planning board meeting. Any questions on this one? I do find it interesting, the one that we've deliberated for a while is still being deliberated. So obviously needed some attention. So no questions, there's no action there. From there, we'll move on to item 7, adjournment, and we'll entertain a motion there.
So
Motion
moved.
to adjourn.
Got a motion?
Second.
And a second? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We are adjourned.